Parashat Toldot. ויוזד יעקב נוזיד ויובו עשיו מן הסודה והוא עייף. Yaakov is making a lentil soup. And this is during the Shiva of Avraham Avinu, who passed away that day. They buried him, and they're sitting Shiva, and Yaakov is preparing the first meal for Yitzchak, and that's a lentil soup, because that's a morning food. Esav was out, missed the funeral. He was on a mission. And that mission was that he was going out to avenge his grandfather's honor, Avraham Avinu, who was thrown into a fiery pit by Nimrod. But not only to avenge his grandfather's honor, he also heard from Avraham Avinu that Nimrod had something very special. When Avraham was younger, the first time he met Nimrod, it was after the Maaseh with his father, where Avraham destroys everything in his father Terach's shop, all of the idols, all of the incense, and so on, and tells his father that it was one of the idols that beat all the other idols up. And his father looks at him and says, "You're ridiculous, these are idols. They're stone, they don't hit." So Yaakov said, Avraham said to his father, "That's right. So what are we doing selling them? We're selling them, and we're promising us." And Avraham got such a big beating that day, and everybody heard about it, and the news got to Nimrod, and the people of the town brought Avraham because they saw how that his father was beating him and that he burned his father's store. So they brought him in front of Nimrod to be judged. And Nimrod is doing his regular procession to show that he's the big bad ruler. Big pit of fire, everybody around, throwing people in the pit of fire and cheering and doing horrible things with the ladies. And they bring Avraham, and he's they said, "What's going on? What'd you do to your father's shop?" He said, "What did I do?" He said, "The idols. They were fighting. I was trying to stop them." And Nimrod says the same thing. "The idols were fighting? They're idols." And Avram said, "That's right. They're nothing." So then Nimrod realized he caught himself in that, and he became very angry, and he picked him up. He threw him in the Kivshan Ash. He threw him into the pit of fire. Everybody's cheering, "Yeah!" Suddenly everything pauses, and the Beit Din in Shamayim opens up. And the Malachim go up to Hashem and they say, here's this Avram guy. He's about to die because he doesn't believe in idols. And he thinks there's only one creator. You know him. And the other angels come and they say, "Oh, but look at all the bad people that are going to come from him. Ishmael is going to come from him and his descendants, and Esav and their descendants. Look who you're saving." And Hashem says to all of the Malachim, "Let me tell you who I'm saving. I'm saving Yaakov Avinu, who's coming from him." So, Avram walks out of the pit of fire, protected, unscathed, and everybody stops, and the music stops. And Avram looks at Nimrod, and Nimrod's big bad giant slave, Og, looks at Nimrod and says to Nimrod, "I'm not your slave anymore. I'm his slave." And Og is passed onto Abraham as his Eved at that point. But what happened at that point, which I went off the topic, is that during that procession, when Abraham was brought in front of Nimrod at the fiery pit, Nimrod is beating other people, but he's not wearing something. He's wearing his whatever, but he's not wearing the cloak. And he's hitting, this guy's being held down, everybody's cheering, picks him up, throws him into the fiery pit. Nimrod licks his wounds. Avram sees he's bleeding. Nimrod goes, puts on his cloak. Hands healed. Nimrod is strong again, untouchable. And that's when Nimrod picked up Abraham and threw him into the pit with superhuman strength. Abraham took note of what was on Nimrod's jacket. What was Nimrod and his jacket? And Abraham later learned from Shem and Ever that indeed was the cloak that was given to Adam Harishon, that was passed down through the generations, survived the boat on Noach's boat, and made it off, and Ham took it. Nobody else wanted to wear it. Ham took it, and Nimrod took it from Ham, and Nimrod put it on and became the big bad ruler of the world. He became the first mafia boss when he wore that cloak, because that cloak was, the way the Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer says, that was skinned off of the Nachash in Gan Eden. And that's where Hashem made the Ketonet Or, the cloaks of skin. And he made one for Adam, and he one for Chava. And he said, you guys are going to need this. Where I'm sending you back to, where you came from. Why? The skin was the skin of the Nachash. The Nachash was a creature who lived in Gan Eden for who knows how long. Whatever time is over there, it's obviously a lot slower. Or faster, I don't know. Meaning the amount of things that happens and the amount of time scale, our time scale. So, Adam and Chava are thrown out of Gan Eden. They land back down on earth and on Har HaBayit in Yerushalayim, the earth where they were taken from. And they have to battle all of the pre-Adam, human, unhuman creatures that looked like him, that did not speak, because they did not have Dibur. And Adam and Chava needed to protect themselves from them. And that with that cloak, they had the power of the Nachash. When the Nachash was in this world, before taken to Gan Eden. And that power was pretty strong. And to say the least. And whenever they would wear it, they would gain that Nachash strength. So it wasn't good for you to wear this as a human. It makes you crazy. You do crazy things. You act like a velociraptor in a world of din, pre-asteroid or whatever, before it had to get remade because there was too much din. That's where that creature came from. And he's tough. And when you wear his skin, you're tough. So, Shem and Ever, during Avram's learning, he learns that that's where that cloak was, and Avram sees what it does, how it works. Avram passes that down along with the rest of the Torah that Avram knows to Yitzchak and to his grandsons. Avram is around for the first 15 years while Esav and Yaakov are growing up. And so Esav says, back to Parashat Toldot, when they're 15, Esav says, I'm going to go avenge, and I know how. My grandfather told me, Avram, one night on Pesach, when he drank, he said, all you got to do is get him to take his cloak off and you can kill him. And Esav took note. So Esav shows up, and in front of Nimrod, while Nimrod is doing his procession of throwing people in the pit and shearing and doing other horrible things. And he stands in the middle and he pulls off his clothes in front of everybody. And everybody obviously pays attention. What's this? A bris? A Ben Avram? What are you? You want to get thrown in too? So Esav says, yeah, I'll get thrown in. But first you have to beat me. The way that I'm fighting you. You fight me. I got nothing on other than my belt and my knife. You too. And let's go man to man. And we're going to see who gets thrown in that pit. It's a challenge in front of everybody. This is a 15-year-old boy. Maybe he's developed, but he's still a boy. So Nimrod is laughing. Everybody's laughing. Okay, yay. Now his grandson. But you're not getting saved. You know, if you walk out, I'm throwing you back in. Not like your grandfather. Where's Og to save you guys? Og is gone. Not gone. He's somewhere else. He was freed earlier. And Nimrod leans over, takes his cloak off. And as he's getting up, Esav picks out his sword, throws it. It's a little dagger, I think Lashon of the Medrash. Throws it, hits him right in the neck where he needed to get hit. Grabs his throat, falls to the floor. Esav goes, cuts his head off, throws him in the fire, throws his head in the fire, puts on the cloak, and roars. And throws a bunch of other people in the fire, and it takes over him, and he becomes nuts. He's shofech damim. He's boel betulot, in front of everybody, and then throwing them in the pit, and acting like a wild maniac, and shows everybody, now, you guys thought Nimrod was bad. Welcome to when the Jew enters the business. Bow. And suddenly, Esav went on his grandfather's honor and left for his own honor and went back to the family. He's got his whole entourage following him, and he wants to go, look what I... And lo and behold, he didn't know that because of his evil turn, Hashem wanted to save Avram, because Hashem promised Avram, you're going to die, Seva Tova, Sva Yamim, you're going to have a good death. Die happy. You're going to die happy? You see your grandson turn into the biggest, baddest guy, worse than Nimrod, who threw you in the pit? Hashem says, Avram gives him a kiss, takes him up to Gan Eden, so he won't see what Esav turns into. Yitzchak didn't see what Esav turned into. To be continued.